Alright, we're gonna look and see why Dragon Age isn't doing as good as you think it is. If you've seen that there's a lot of people, yeah. But not quite the kind of amount of people that should be there. They are super dirty, Valista, you're right.
This game released about 2 days ago, and a lot of people are analyzing the content and also the overall reaction to this game, which many consider a disappointment. Now, a lot of people are used to numbers coming out from other flops like Concord, Flintlock, or Dustborn, but we have to adjust for the reality of Dragon Age: The Veilguard. This is a franchise that has a baked-in audience.
The thing is, Dragon Age had it had the moniker of Dragon Age, so it had that group of people. It was from a big company. It's an RPG. Like, it had a lot of things going for it. Like, people have been waiting for years for a new Dragon Age. So these numbers are actually really bad.
There was a lot of hype surrounding this game, and this number right here, 71,000, that is what is currently in the game about 48 hours into release, the all-time peak being around 74,000. That is a disappointment for this game. I don't care how much games journalists and other activists on Twitter want to convince you otherwise. This was a disappointing launch for this game. In fact, comparing it to other contemporaries in the space from this year alone, look at Black Myth Wukong, which has become the gold standard for the success of a AAA game this year. You can see the numbers.
Its 24-hour peak is higher.
20 times the peak number of Veilguard. And you look at other contemporaries from the last couple of years. These games also completely...
This right here and this right here are successes. 875,000. That's a success. That's a monumental success. 1 million? That's a monumental success. This is still pretty bad. Especially with how much money they spent. Not as bad. Dragon's Dogma 2 is a niche game, so it being that low makes sense.
Dwarfing the numbers we're seeing for Veilguard, and on top of that, we see the numbers of the Monster Hunter Wilds beta that was released.
The beta. Realize that the beta has one land. You can only kill, like, 6 monsters? And there is nothing else. That's it. You can try out the kills, you can try out the weapons, but that's it.
Released at the same time as Veilguard.
It's a beta. And it's still doing better. It's 24-hour peak. Its players right now are still higher than it.
And you can see, they absolutely crushed Veilguard, getting many times their peak number.
But what if she's
and that really kind of disproves the excuse a lot of people are using, saying this was a Halloween release. Of course it was going to do poorly. Well, that's not an excuse. A lot of people clearly want to play some games.
No. Halloween is not Christmas. Halloween is a one-night thing. If this is released around Christmas, and it was those numbers, we could use that excuse and say maybe it'll get higher tomorrow. But no.
And now we're sitting here about 48 hours into the release, and all the games journalists who are propping up this game are now trying to come out and say, nope, this is a big success, actually. Everything...
Combat looks crap. The story narrative, from what I've seen, is crap. And they do so much preaching that it's... bleh.
That you've seen with the content
no, it is
Thanksgiving,
this
particular title. It doesn't matter. This is a commercial success by hours.
Look. Players right now.
Is that a wild bocker? The successful dragon with lots of snacks in her pantry, an absolute cutie pie, a cheeky goofy goober with a red fleece and a blue bow. Yes, yes.
It's flattering.
And yes.
That's flattering.
Here, trying to say that this game was a big success, saying, go woke, go brrr, top the charts. And this is the proof. This is from the first day. In fact, this is not even the biggest peak of that day. It actually gets to around 70,000 on the first day. But he's using this number to say that this game is topping the charts. And of course, in stunning and brave fashion, blocking the replies. Now, if you look at the other games, this was a screenshot from the day one.
Look at this. Stardew Valley has more players right now. with how old a game it is. Black Myth Wukong has more players right now. You know what's really sad? Banana is beating it. Like, Banana's a misnomer. We don't even have to count that, honestly. It's a joke game, so it's gonna be high. And it's like people are trying to
rotate banana.
Get money. Rotate banana.
Release of Veilguard. As you can see, you don't even see Veilguard in the top 10 or 15. In fact, for most of the day, it wasn't even in the top 20. So saying this was topping the charts is just a straight up lie.
Not.
Like, with 2 seconds of research, you discover that it definitely wasn't topping the charts. In fact, it was struggling, getting destroyed by games like Stardew Valley and even the banana game. Like, that's how bad its performance was. But in response to people clowning on him, not only would Schreier just lock the replies, he would say this to this user who said, "There's no way you genuinely liked this turd." Where Schreier would say, "I actually don't like the game very much, but I do like seeing you chuds get dunked on." Yeah, anyone uses the term chud unironically, everything they have to say, just dismiss it, okay? They're crazy. But to say this, that this is some kind of an elaborate dunk, this is what a dunk is in the world of games journalists, okay? Going onto Twitter, lying and coping about the numbers of...
You want to know a real dunk? Constantly harassing, constantly blackmailing it, and constantly, like, going out of your way to try to silence a game studio. Their game comes out and it does 2 billion. 2 billion.
Crazy? I was crazy once. They
That's
locked me in a pantry. A pantry full of snacks and kobolds.
Not 2 billion, 2 million.
The kobolds made me crazy.
Hush, ostrich. But, yeah, 2 million. What game was that? That was Wukong. But they still refuse to let be the top game. Like, companies have literally faked reviews, faked votes on their own site to make it where it isn't the top game, so they don't have to, like, put it up as a top game.
This is what a dunk is in the world of games. Veilguard's launch has already made it EA's biggest ever single-player game on Steam, topping the charts and beating...
You wanna know what's hilarious? You wanna know what's absolutely hilarious? They'll tell you it did 500% times Inquisition, which in itself isn't that great. I'm gonna be honest. But here's the problem with that. Inquisition came out, I want to say 2017? 2018? It didn't get to be on Steam until 2020. It was already far removed from its release date. There was no way it was getting the numbers it got on its release date. And it barely beat that. They say 500%, but like...
out the concurrence of 2023's Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which honestly isn't really that hard to beat that game in particular, but this is very
I want you to know that about 50% of those good reviews, I read some of them, they don't sound good. Most of them are pretty bad. I'd give them negative reviews for what they were saying. And then some of the other ones sound way too generic. They gotta be botted.
We would see some similar headlines coming out of PC games.
Like on other sites, they're definitely bots. On Steam, some of them might be bots, but for the most part, they feel like they were paid off because like the review is negative for the most part, but they give it a positive review.
Here saying Dragon Age: The Veilguard beats Inquisition's Steam record by 500% in 1 hour. Wow, that's an amazing feat. Unfortunately,
most of the time they're not, but for this game, it's like you can read the reviews and be like, wow, this sounds very generic. Or you'll read it and be like, most of what I read was negative. Why are you giving it a positive review? Or they're like delusional. Like, they're like, oh my gosh, it is a great successor to Origins. And all I can think is, you wash your mouth out.
This is very manipulative in terms of what they're saying in this headline.
I love Origins. Origins at the start is a little, like, it's an old game. You gotta understand that it was an old game. For its time, it was really good.
So Dragon Age Inquisition came out, I believe, in 2014, but it wasn't released on Steam until 2020. So all those years passed.
And I played it when it came out.
Release it on Steam.
It did suck.
Of course, the numbers weren't very good because the interest in that
6 years. It released on Steam 6 years later. No, you're fine, Alicia. I back you up on that. Origins was good. And it got really fun, like, once you had everyone. Once you had everyone and you started actually doing your travels and stuff, it got really, really good.
Game had largely died off.
Well, you had, like,
now they're using that
70%
as a
of your
comparison
people,
point
or 80%.
for Veilguard. This is the absolute peak of copium. They're
it was
doing
very good
everything they
story
can to manipulate you into thinking this game was a giant success, even if it's trying to denigrate the success of a later release on Steam of Inquisition. But moving forward, I think what's happening here,
and these reviews, the only one I kind of trust is this. Because I'll concede the argument that maybe it's fun for some people. So I'll give it like a 6 out of 10. I don't think any game can truly be below that if they're made by a AAA game. Except for Star Wars. Star Wars is like a 5. But this isn't a 7, this isn't an 8, this isn't a 9, this isn't a 10. It's a 6 at best. Well, 6 at worst. Like, you could probably argue your way to a 7 for me.
Is very obvious. Games journalists did everything in their power to prop up this game. You can see the set of reviews that were made before this game was released from these journalists, and the reviews are Game of the Year.
Who the hell listens to IGN anymore? I'm gonna say that right
quality,
now.
Right? You would think this is probably the best game of the year that's about to come out. I mean, these reviews are better than Black Myth Wukong, for example, but we learned very quickly that they are doing everything in their power to basically hold the line.
That's the game that
they're trying to cope, and they're trying to justify
they lied
their
about
high
what they were going to do with Dragon Age
finding
Origins,
anything
right?
they can get their hands on that would, in some people's minds, prove that
I still
this
hate that game.
is a commercial success. And now I want to turn to John Epler here. This shows how weird things are with games journalists and the Veilguard right now. So as you can see, he is the creative director on Dragon Age, and right now his account is actually deactivated. He was private before when the screenshot was taken by another user a few days ago, but he is completely deactivated. He has left social media, which is not a very good sign after your game just released. Now you're deactivating and running from social media. It doesn't sound like someone who is very proud of what they made. But he said this quote not long ago saying, "So 5 years ago, when I first rejoined the project as narrative director after a hiatus on Anthem, I was asked my goals for the project, and one of those I put was, I want to see the phrase a triumphant return to form for BioWare in at least one review. Excited to finally mark that goal done." And don't worry, he wouldn't just get this triumphant return to form for BioWare once. He would get it many times. This screenshot is really just games journalism in a nutshell. You can see every
return to
single
form,
review here
return to form,
all
return to
uses
form,
the
return to
same
form.
phrase,
It's almost like they
to
were
form.
paid.
These journalists literally
It's almost like
cannot think
it's almost
for
like they're all the
themselves.
same
They can't
company.
even come up with original ways to
It's almost like
describe
this is
this
what they were
game
told to
without
write, and you had to write it in your
leeching
own
off of each other.
words.
It's like a hive mind of idiots who are just too lazy to have any sort of creativity in their slop articles. But of course, when things aren't working out with the official reviews from these games journalists, what are you going to do about the user scores? Because eventually you have to face the music with the user scores. And as Mark Kern points out here, something very odd was going on with the user scores on Metacritic, where after the release, nearly fully into the first day, the user scores were still locked. And it's a very odd thing because these become available after only 4 ratings, which obviously would happen almost instantaneously with a game like Veilguard. However, soon after that, there would be some user scores released, and you can see at first they were abysmal. After nearly 400 user ratings, the rating was a 2.5 out of 5, which is obviously a very low score.
This is one of the few sites where user reviews are not possible to be botted. Well, they are, but only on the company side. And it's already at that.
And it shows a giant disconnect between the overall Metascore and the user score. And suddenly, out of nowhere, we would see a giant increase.
Yeah,
so
see?
2 days after that, early this morning, we would see the user scores jump to a 3.8 based on 1,344 user reviews. But as this post points out, so you can see this 7:57 a.m. and then at 8:21 a.m., the number of user ratings would drop by a few dozen. And that would result in an increase in the score from a 3.8 to a 3.9, nearly at a 4.0. Think about that. 2 days ago, it was at a 2.5, but now it's at a 3.9, and that comes after deleting some user scores in a period of about 25 minutes. Doesn't that sound very suspicious to you? In fact, there's a lot of very suspicious and just outright censorship that we're seeing with this game. So as
and then,
is banning anyone.
This, if you give them a bad review on Steam, you are banned from the Reddit, the Discord, anywhere where you could also get your voice out. You're banned because I can't super control Steam, but they're pushing their weight around. That's why I'm thinking a lot of those reviews were bought. Like, they're buying people's reviews.
With long opinions on Steam so others can keep with their thing. So it appears that any post that mentions wokeness or criticizes the game for things like pushing gender identity politics are being taken down by Steam, which is not too surprising. Typically with other releases, anytime you raise concerns about topics like that, you're going to get banned from Steam for reasons like this user who cites that their post and its content is apparently combative, argumentative, or likely to derail the discussion. And that's not too surprising.
No company that's smart bans you from the Steam forums.
Like I said, they do this with other games, but it seems like they're doing everything in their power to get rid of wrongthink and to...
Well, all Grums did there was he was like, why is it the user reviews not allowed yet? That's all he said. He didn't say anything on his opinion. He was like, well, he was just curious.
Curate what is allowed in terms of user reviews. I think that's very obvious with the Metacritic stuff, as well as what's going on Steam, and that's not the only platform, as we talked about in yesterday's video.
And then, yeah, Asmon said something very positive about the game, but the second he messaged on the forum, he was banned.
Asmongold released a video where he talked about how anyone in his community's subreddit who posts there and then goes into the official Dragon Age subreddit and posts there, they're likely to be instantly banned. In fact, Asmongold himself would leave this post saying no.
I'm really excited for Veilguard.
Dragon Age Veil spoilers, I'm really excited for Dragon Age Veilguard, and he was instantaneously banned from that subreddit. And it's a very weird thing that on multiple platforms we're having so much censorship of not only reviews but just general discussion involving this game, and it makes you really think that BioWare is on top of this stuff. They're really trying to crack down on any wrongthink or criticism of their game, especially when it comes to anything involving their woke ideology. But that wasn't the only thing. So also there are claims that someone who made a video basically doing a compilation of all the trash interactions and cringiness throughout Dragon Age the Veilguard are having their videos taken down by EA via copyright strike, which shows again that they're clearly not very proud of what they're creating, because if they were, they wouldn't mind people sharing some of these scenes, but clearly they're quite sensitive about people criticizing and making fun of their ridiculous interactions that they feature in this game. And while we're on the topic, let's watch another clip. We watched some absolute gems yesterday, but let's watch another very stunning and brave set of dialogue here. Let's begin. This is a modern day age coming out party about being non-binary in this game.
The dialogue in this game is
it's really just, it's so heartfelt. You might want to grab your tissues. You might be shedding some tears here.
Thank you. So, I'm non-binary.
Putting the laugh track in is absolutely evil, by the way, and totally deserved.
What does that mean?
It means I don't feel like a man or a woman.
If you are neither a man nor a woman, then what are you?
Non-binary. I just said, and I'm going to use they instead of she from now on.
What is this game even about, bro? Like, honestly, like, it's so much
Here's the thing.
projection of whoever wrote this story, right? This is such a...
Like, you guys know, it sounds so bleh. It's just bleh. It's unnecessary. It's cluttering up a game. Like, someone said this, and I kind of agree with it. I'm what could be considered non-binary, and I agree with it. They said there should have been an option where she could, like, confront you about it, and you should have had a choice to be like, accept her thing, like, go along with it, or tell her, like, she's being silly or something. Like, yeah, is it a little annoying? Yeah. But this is a Dragon Age game. It is a game about... It is supposed to be a game about choices and you. It's making the game about this character or that character instead of you. You're, like, completely ignoring the main character.
Self-insert. And if you look at the writing staff, and we looked at it yesterday, I mean, it all just adds up, right? I feel like they are literally trying to LARP as these characters. They're doing another self-insert, which is such a ridiculously common practice nowadays with these woke game developers. And
it's too preachy. Stop preaching. We don't need that.
This scene is just, like, what are we talking about? This is supposed to be some medieval setting. And the way that they're displaying this character's coming out as non-binary to their family, it seems like a corny, woke after-school special from the year 2024. Not something I would expect from the Dragon Age franchise. Like, this whole thing is just completely ridiculous. And how does anyone enjoy this slop? How does anyone enjoy this without needing some sort of a validation of their identity through video games? And honestly, if you need that through video games, they shouldn't cater to you. Unfortunately, games like Veilguard are catering to those people because, well, they're the ones creating it as well. But overall, that's going to do it for this video.
We're going to look at it real quick before we go on to play with Warframe. Let's see where Veilguard is now. A lot of interesting games. Oh, that's weird. Where did it go? Oh wait. Let's do this. Oh, it's here. Okay. Wait a minute. Let's do this. It should be here too. Like, even if I have it, even if it's ignored, it should show up here and just have a little tag on it. This is ignored. Don't include free to play. Nope. Let's see here. Receive product for free. Just plain fantastic. Like, they do this. They say good video game, poor Dragon Age game. And stuff. Cured my depression, cleared my skin, watered my crops. Like, there's a lot of joke reviews, too. But, let's see here. Where's the thing? How do you see gaming on it now? How do you see... Where is it? Stats, I think?
Boka.
All the way down here. What's up? You can... let's see here. My daily players. I don't see it yet. Am I wrong? This is daily players. It's all the way down here.
Reviews Doko.
Reviews Doko? Oh, we're seeing reviews. We're seeing... Oh, there you go. It's all the way down at 46. I don't think this game is gonna go much further. I won't be surprised if this game ends up at like 10,000 people in the next week. It's all the way down here at daily players. That's bad. Most played, all the way down here. Alright. Red Dead Redemption 2. My beloved. Aww. Alright.